Welcome to Network Spotlight. I am your host, Mikhail. Today I'll be talking to Afonso from KDLaunch and KDSwap. Afonso is the operations manager and also the content creator for both projects. And he recently started dabbling into Pact development. We discussed the benefits of Kadena, how KDLaunch and KDSwap got started, and also the perks of living in Portugal from a tax standpoint. Enjoy this interview and don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow. How you doing, Afonso?
I'm good. I'm good. Thanks, man. Thanks for having me here.
Yeah, thanks for being here. I'm glad that in your Telegram it says the L is silent because I was
Exactly.
definitely going to call you Alfonso.
Everyone does. That's why I put it there. I mean, when I started using Telegram, to as an investor to kind of go through all the chats of the projects I was in, everyone just called me Alfonso, and so at a certain point, it was kind of a running gag with some of the guys there, and so I just adopted it and put the L is silent in the front, but because a lot of Spanish communities and people from the U.S. also are a lot more used to Spanish and Portuguese, so everyone calls me Alfonso, which is fine. I don't mind.
What is your background, by the way?
Oh, I'm a mechanical engineer with a master's in automation, and then I worked a little bit in automation. So I worked with in a company that built kind of those automated storage units for pharmacies that they go pick the packages. So in the U.S., you buy your pills like a single pill, right? But in Europe, we buy a whole package of pills, like 20, 40, 60. And so they were distributors of this kind of automated machines, and they hired me so that we could build a new one. And so I kind of built one of these machines from concept to delivery on the client. It took a lot of time because I was alone with my boss, which is kind of a programmer, and I was the mechanical and mechanical programmer side of things. So it took us 4 years, but it was amazing. Once we delivered it, but I said, okay, that's it, because it was late nights. It was, having to leave like at 6 p.m. in the afternoon to go to a client 300 kilometers away to work all night and then come back. And so I found crypto and I found this world and started being involved, and so I left kind of the mechanical engineering world at that point.
Well, I imagine you didn't make that transition because of the hours, because if anything, crypto never sleeps. So I know that wasn't the reason why you decided to make that
Yeah, man,
change.
yeah, but it's a little bit different. Yeah, so in crypto it never sleeps, yeah, but I'm behind my laptop, and I can talk to people through the laptop and do all of the things in my house. And if I have to go take care of my kid, that's fine. But in the mechanical engineering job that I had, I would spend nights away or nights driving, which was awful. I mean, I learned a lot and it was amazing. Personally, I developed a lot of skills, so I'm grateful for that. But in terms of you know stressfulness, this is definitely not as bad now. What I do now.
So how did you get introduced to crypto?
So while I was working there, in Portugal, the salaries are not that great, and I didn't have a lot of money on the side, so I was thinking of ways to kind of invest some money to build something for me and my family. And a friend of mine just said, "Yo, just buy Bitcoin." And I don't, I had heard of Bitcoin, of course, because was 2021, so I pretty late arriver at crypto. And I did what everyone does. I think I just opened an account. At the time, I opened a Revolut account, which is a big mistake because you pay like 5% in fees to buy and to sell, but I didn't know that at the time, and so I bought $100 or euros in the case of Bitcoin. And then I saw that Revolut was selling like all these other coins, EOS and which is Stellar, Stellar, or an EOS and Monero, and I was like, "What? I have no idea what these are, but they are so much cheaper than Bitcoin. Maybe if I buy a bit of this, I'll be rich in a few years." Because I didn't know the concept of market cap and all that at that point. So I started, buying those, and then I discovered some YouTubers. I discovered Binance Smart Chain and PancakeSwap and the whole DeFi system. So I put some money on a wallet. I bought some very suspicious projects. I made some money with some of them. I was rugged with some others. Then the market crashed in May 2021, and then I started, being on Telegrams and started helping people, because on that time I was really fixated on crypto, and I was always learning about it, and I I sort of started being pretty good at using DeFi and using all these different chains. I used Binance, Solana, Cardano, and so I started using and helping people on Telegram chats, and eventually someone offered me a moderating job, and I took it side by side with my kind of engineering job, and then I at another and another. At some point, I was, if I quit now my engineering job, I'm earning a little bit more uh, than than just just the engineering job, and so I took a chance and I quit, and now I'm doing a bit better than I was before. So everything turned out really good.
Yeah, so it sounds like you took a risk, but that risk seems to be paying off.
Yeah, yeah, man, it is definitely paying off.
Great. So how did you get involved with KDL, which is KD Launch, correct?
Yeah, exactly. So some way around this journey, I found Flux. I'm sure you've heard of it. It's kind of a decentralized cloud service platform, which I thought it was amazing because it was kind of the first project that I found that I could see the use case of the token besides crypto. So one of the things that I've always, when I was studying crypto and understanding it, I had some. I didn't understand what was the utility of a token outside of the crypto world, right? So you have Dogecoin, it's a meme token, right? But then you have, all of your DeFi tokens, but they are useful for DeFi, for the kind of closed ecosystem that is the blockchain and crypto. But then I found Flux, and I saw the utility of a project that is not just a speculative asset. You buy it, you stake it to run a node, and then other people build on top of it. So you have the incentive to hold the token and stake it. You have the incentive of the other guys to build on your platform because it's cheaper. So I really liked it and I invested. And then I saw that they were running Kadena nodes on their services, and I saw Kadena, I saw Chainweb, I saw Will Martino and Stuart Popejoy, and I said, okay, this is a good project. This is built by good people. It has a unique kind of architecture in the Chainweb, which I hadn't seen anywhere. And at that point, I was kind of getting dismystified with the proof of stake, because at first, proof of stake, it's all green, and people love it because it doesn't have the kind of power consumption. But at some point, I started wondering, why did Bitcoin need the power consumption, right? Why do you need proof of work? And the more I read into it, the more I got the feeling that the power consumption is there for some reason. It needs security, and proof of stake doesn't offer the same security in my mind. And so I really liked Kadena and the fact that Pact is kind of a human readable language. Although at that point I hadn't really looked into Pact, uh, but yeah, all of those things kind of lured me in, and so I invested a little bit. And the ecosystem was non-existent at that time, but I saw, some hints there and there, KDX at first, and then this guy's KDLaunch. And so I went into the Telegram. Again, I started typing and asking questions and, trying to understand what was going on there. And so I was lucky enough to be able to invest in their IDO, so I was not connected to them in any regards at that point. But I thought their raise had some issues in terms of tokenomics, so I went to one of the devs and said, "Hey, maybe you could have done this differently and that." And he was like, "Oh yeah, you're right. Maybe we could." And we started talking, and I was like, I do mod. I mod chats for a living right now. So if you want me to, I saw that you don't have anyone, so I can do that. And it was like, yeah, great. And so I started moderating. Then those guys started, asking me questions, and I kind of got involved in a lot more than just modding. And so today I kind of do content on YouTube. I do operation manager as well, and I'm starting to do some development for them. So I'm going up the ranks because I mean they're amazing. The devs, the founders of KD Launch are one of the most impressive guys that I've found so far. So for me, it's my house now.
Yeah, what's interesting is you started off in developing hardware, right? And now
Yeah,
you're
exactly.
reaching a point where you're developing software essentially.
Yeah,
So that's
yeah,
it's a very nice transition and not an easy one to make, I would imagine.
yeah, yeah. It's hard. It's hard. I mean, some of these guys that I'm working with have 12 years experience programming, and I have PLC programming experience, which is very unsophisticated kind of language. So yeah, it's not easy, but in the end, an algorithm is an algorithm, and that's what counts. And then all the rest is like legwork that you need to do. Learning syntax, learning kind of the how the programs work. So yeah, in a way, it's a harder step for me, but it's also very. I I find it more rewarding once I'm able to do it, so to speak.
And what's interesting about KDL is that it's part of the first initial cohorts that have received a grant from the Kadena ecosystem. Why do you think it is so important for Kadena to provide that kind of support to KDL?
Um, to be clear, KD Launch, the launchpad itself, did not get the grant, nor KDSwap, the second project. The grant was attributed to a third project, Lemonges, which is an NFT marketplace that will be starting to develop in the near future. But it's amazing to have kind of the backup from the main guys themselves, right? So it means that they are noticing how we are doing things, and they are noticing that we're doing it the right way. And we look at all of the other grantees, and it's good to be accompanied by good teams and skilled people, so we know we're doing the right job, and we hope that we can deliver on the next one, so the NFT marketplace.
Yeah, and thanks for correcting that. So you obviously have three different projects that you're working on simultaneously.
Yeah.
Uh, so let's dive a little bit deeper into each one of those and what
Okay.
is it that you're looking to accomplish.
Okay.
So let's start
So
with KD Launch.
yeah, KD Launch was the first one, right? I wasn't even part of the team when they launched it. It's essentially a launch pad. The founders were looking into Kadena a lot sooner than I was, kind of mid 2021, and they liked kind of the same things that I did, that I mentioned, and they thought, well, every blockchain has a launchpad, and every blockchain needs kind of that support to start developing the ecosystem. So they decided to start there. There was no one building one at the moment. Eventually, iPercent started doing as well, and Back Alley. So they started there. They developed the K Launch platform. It was a major success in terms of, I think, in terms of UI, it's very good in terms of UX as well, and the launch went super smooth. I was really impressed for that, because it was the first launch in Kadena without any kind of framework for it. So they did it all themselves, and it went really well. And after the launch, we started, getting some uh, requests to launch projects to launch. and we accepted. The first one was Stimpy, which is a really cool decentralized search engine. But after we launched them, we noticed that KDEX wasn't giving a very specific time frame for their release. And when you launch projects, you need them to list somewhere, to list them on a platform. And since we were not sure how long KDEX would take to deliver, and founders look at kind of the Kadena swap code, and thought that it wouldn't be that hard to build a new DEX. They just decided, well, let's do it, and we can deliver this in like 2 or 3 months. And so they did. They started developing the. We didn't announce it right away because I don't think it's very um, healthy to just say we're building this and then people have to wait 3 months. So they waited to see if it was possible, if they were going to be able to make it. And once we were sure, we just announced it and released it like I think 2 weeks later. And so we got a launchpad and a decentralized exchange, which is really symbiotic, because you kind of launch the projects and they can uh, almost instantaneously go to the DEX. And of course, we needed to raise funds for the DEX because the initial fundraise for the launchpad was really really small. It was one of the things that I told them that you did a too small of a raise, and they were, oh, but this is the only money we need to develop. And I'm like, man, you're thinking too short, man. You may need for something else. And then they said, yeah, we should have raised a little bit more. Than we wouldn't have to make a second raise to develop KDSwap. But anyways, they raised the second time, and this time it was also a very short amount, but this time they didn't need any more than that. And so they built KDSwap. They had KDLaunch. We kind of built synergy between the two tokens because the raise involved a second token, and now there's synergy. So the KDS token kind of gives you access to staking pools, and it will give you access to farming pools in the future. And the KDL token gives you access to Launchpad, so you can get the token on one side, you can get the token on the other side. And so yeah, they built these two very cool projects. One of the best dexes I've ever used personally. And now the next step is building an NFT marketplace that I think it will be even better than these two combined, as they tell me.
Interesting. So you mentioned something beginning of the conversation about Kadena that that it's proof of work, and yet you
Exactly.
have these ability to stake. I'm not on the technical side, and I don't know if you could shed some light in terms of
Sure.
how is it possible in terms of having proof of work and being able to stake.
Okay. So in proof of stake platforms, the staking you do is kind of the native staking you do is to secure the blockchain, right? You delegate your tokens to a pool, and that pool has a chance to win the next block, right? That's how proof of stake works. Proof of work has not no staking, no pools. But when you build a token, uh, you can take that token and write a smart contract where it locks the token and it gives you a certain amount of rewards, right? This is all that staking is. It has nothing to do with mining new blocks. It has nothing to do with securing the network. It's just rewarding stakers. You let's say, for example, KDSwap has a um total supply of 250 million. If I'm not wrong, I think I'm right. 250 million. 110 of those are circulating, right? So you have like I think it's 30 or 40% of the supply uh, is kind of on the side for rewards, and this is what the staking is. It rewards people for helping the initial funding of the project, and the idea is that these rewards will last for 5 years at least, so that it is not a kind of a dumping of the rewards, of the token. It would kind of make the inflation rampant, right? So it's a small release that people can feel good about having invested in a token and getting something back. That's all that is. It's not about uh, increasing the security of the blockchain.
How challenging is it to be having all of these developments on a chain that's, practically brand new?
Well, that's that's kind of the hardest part, and we joke around and talk a lot about this because um, and when you get people that are not familiar with blockchain and just came, for example, from Ethereum or from Binance Smart Chain, and you're saying, well, we're building a staking platform, and they're like, okay, that's 1 week of work. No, that's 1 week of work if you're building an Ethereum staking platform or a Binance, because you just do a Control C, Control V, basically. And I'm sure you know it, right? Because you probably deal with something like this. But once something is built on a platform, on a blockchain, it's super easy to you know to do it again. But on a new platform like Kadena, it's a lot harder because no one has done it yet. So you gotta really break your head against the wall, because you do it once and it fails, you do it again and it fails. This is kind of where my background is the same, because when I did what I did, it was new in terms of that specific robot, right? It was a new robot, and I had to program it all from scratch. And once I did something, it took me sometimes to do the smallest of things. It takes a lot of time. Kadena is the same. Also, one of the few critiques that we have of the Kadena team is documentation. So it's really really hard to start developing, because the documentation is not that good. And so being kind of in the dark in terms of what to do, and also having nowhere to look because no one has done it, it's really challenging. But it's also really rewarding when you do it because no one else did it. You're the kind of the Uniswap of Kadena because you're the first, right?
Yeah, I mean, talk about being on the very, very cutting edge. That's very interesting. Some ecosystems have a kind of like a particular label these days. Some positive, some negative. Like for instance, Solana. It's been down for like 8 times this year. Unfortunately, it's becoming that's what they're known for these days.
Recurring.
When you look at something like Near Foundation, they're known to be very, very close knit with their community and very hands
Mhm.
on with the projects that they bring on board. What would you say is your opinion about Kadena? I mean, you mentioned the documentation. Is there anything else you could share with us?
In terms of their kind of their approach to the ecosystem, so to speak.
Yeah, in terms of the
Yeah.
support that they provide, in general.
Yeah. So that's again in the same line as the documentation. I think that's and we've discussed this openly with them. I've done a video with Emily Fillmore where I talked about openly about this, that I think they should be a little bit more um, build some kind of communication freeway, so to speak. So yeah, right now you can build what they call kips, which are kind of, if you have an idea for something they could improve in terms of code, you can go to their GitHub and kind of suggest that, and someone will eventually come back to you. But I don't think this is kind of ideal. I think they should build some other ways of communicating with teams and projects, because it's, again, it's very new, this technology, for everyone. And so sometimes you feel the lack of support. uh, and I know they don't do this as a because they are, they don't care about ecosystem. I don't think it's, I think they just lack the infrastructure to do it. And they are developing business as well. But recently they have hired a lot of new people. They have promoted some people. They recently promoted, I can't remember his name, Sam Stewart. I can't remember his name, but they promoted one of the guys to CTO. And so they brought in some new advisors. They promoted another person to the operations kind of management. So I think they are trying to do exactly that. They are trying to um, be more. optimize in terms of communication and in terms of operations with their business. So hopefully, in the next months, this will improve.
Yeah, definitely still very early. A lot of things still being developed. So it's one of those things where it's just going to take some time. The good
Yeah.
news is, that no one's rushing into anything, right? Because we've learned in the case of Solana, sometimes whenever you rush things, it can have a negative impact. So,
Mhm. Yeah, no, absolutely. And Solana is a good example. And it's when you're dealing with people that wanna wanna talk trash about Kadena, or wanna are not happy with Kadena, legitimately or not, are not happy with Kadena, and they bring up Solana. You see all this development and all these fast things that they're doing. Yeah, but then they have weekly outages. So what do you want? You want a slow development, but with a certain future, or you want something that was kind of? It seems that it was thrown out there, and glued together. It worked, but not always. So eventually, what's going to be of Solana, right? Is it going to be always like this? Yeah, can you go back and kind of repair the foundation? Because if it's foundation problems, there's nothing you can do, right? It just won't never work. So I prefer the slow approach for the later one, and then the ecosystem can do all the breaking. We can release stuff and see if it works or not, and kind of break it, and then Kadena says, okay, this doesn't work because of that. So they go back and they fix it slowly again, and they patch it up. So for me, that's kind of the process of developing on a blockchain. But I don't know. I'm not an expert on the subject as well.
yeah, but sounds like a lot of great things to come from Kadena and from you guys. I want to change topics just for a moment here. You mentioned beginning of the conversation that you're from Portugal, or you live in Portugal, or both.
Yeah, I'm from and I live in Portugal,
Okay.
born and raised.
So you would be the perfect person to ask this. Why is Portugal becoming such a hub for crypto? People that are working in
Oh,
crypto and dabble in crypto.
I think there's not one answer to that. There's multiple answers or reasons in this case. So the first one, crypto taxes here. There's none, which is kind of good for people who want to trade crypto, and that's people will come here just for that. And then there's the fact that labor is cheap here compared to the rest of Europe, or most of the rest of Europe, and people actually are very qualified. So you have developers earning a lot by Portuguese standards, but by big corporate standards, not that much. So it's good. You see, like I think I don't know if it's Amazon or Google. One of those is building a very big complex here in Portugal. To kind of benefit from the low um, wages that are here, and the fact that you have no crypto taxes makes it the perfect place for crypto companies and hubs to come.
Yeah, that's very interesting because I've made this observation quite a few times when seeing all of the different conferences that are happening around the world.
Yeah.
And Lisbon is very busy in that regard. And a lot of the
Solana is
people,
always there.
yeah, Near is there as well.
Near is
So
there.
it's
We have the
extremely
Web
busy.
Summit.
And
We have the Web Summit coming up in 1 month.
yeah,
I'm actually going there. It's kind of the one of the perks of being Portuguese, right? You have all these conferences you can go to, which is
yeah.
very
So,
nice.
so next time I'm in town,
Yeah,
we'll have to meet in real life.
just beat me up. We'll do a kind of a real quick YouTube video for your channel, and we'll go eat some local cuisine. I live in Porto, which for me has a much better cuisine than Lisbon. So just come to the north, and we'll go eat something for sure.
Better wine too.
Oh yeah, the best.
For sure. Afonso, thanks so much for the time. Where can people learn more about all of the development that's happening?
So the best place for you to go is Twitter. We are constantly announcing our new developments. If you want a more in depth look into the day-to-day development and news, go to our Telegram. We are there all the time. We also have a Discord. I'm not so much involved with the Discord. I hate Discord, but we have a team there too to answer any questions. And we have a Medium. We have the YouTube channel, which we plan to get a lot more active in the coming months. So yeah, I can give you all these links, and you'll just put it on description or something, and
Absolutely.
we can
Yeah,
go there.
I'll include the links in the description. And Fonzo, thanks again for your time. It was a
No,
real
thanks, man.
pleasure.
Thank you.
Really enjoyed learning a lot. And yeah, till next time in real
Okay.
life.
Yes. That. See you, man.